Welcome to the final episode of Indie Action. Well, one of the final episodes of Indie Action, and that was his music that you just heard.
The penultimate edition of Indie Action.
Yes, welcome to the show, and we're happy to give you some background on us and how we made the show. So I think we should start off with our master and commander, Jimmy, the producer.
I guess we should start to why we started the show. Why?
We don't know why. After all these years, we still don't know why.
Well, the reason is, Sean knew that the Vancouver Movie Factory had a bunch of films that they had made, and they wanted a way for us to show those things off. And I said, so you want another show? And they said, yep. And I said, when do you want it? And they said, right now? And I said, yes. In my head, I was screaming, what? So I grabbed these two guys and said,
we need a show.
We need a show. And we need a show yesterday. So that's the reason why we started.
Okay, here we go. And action.
What am I doing here? Oh, you bastard, you terrible evil git! You dragged me in here, and we're we can't go and see him! I can't see him! Oh my God!
You have no idea how satisfying that is. But hey, since it's quite a long journey, why don't we watch an interview I did with Jacqueline Samuda and then watch her film, 50 Questions. Roll that Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I got 50 questions for you right here!
And now we should talk about how Toastie got started.
Ah, yes. Well, Toastie, and as he mentioned, me and Richard were pulled into a meeting in this very place, and we heard that Shaw were looking for this TV show, and we tossed around some ideas on what we could do as a format for the show. Now, me being a Brit, I've grown up with a lot of children's TV, and one of the tropes of children's TV is that there's always some kind of animal or robot or puppet which is a sidekick to the show's presenter. I'm kind of a fan of that, so I suggested that we should use something as simple as like a garbage can with a lid we can kind of operate. Something really simple, would be, cost nothing at all. A trip to several value villages resulted in us finding all of the bits for this guy. And, well, we actually had to visit a toy store to find the slinkies and the glasses. But yeah, we have a photograph of Toastie in his rough assembly when we found him. The reason he got named Toastie was actually largely due to Richard's fault. As we were painting, well, I say we, I mean Richard, we were spray painting in this wonderful silver color. Richard, why don't you explain our flaming technique?
The flamethrower in the face technique? Is that what you meant?
That's the one. And we actually have video footage of that.
Yeah, that was pretty neat. He was just looking too nice, wasn't he? It was kind of
too crisp and clean.
Yeah, too crisp and clean. So we wanted some aging and weathering. So I just thought, oh, I have a lighter. I think this stuff is flammable. So we dragged a table outside. And it was very flammable. And Jimmy had said earlier, we were talking about what should we call him? And I think we all unanimously agreed that, well, let's not force it. It'll come to us in time. It's not a big deal. And then I lit him on fire and I said, well, he's awfully toasty. And everybody just went, oh, Toastie. So I guess I get credit for naming him, and then probably we all take some responsibility for never spelling the name right.
It's finally here. The show that you've been waiting for. The Vancouver Movie Factory, where movie-making dreams come true. Check your local listings for airtimes.
So looking down at the shuttle, you're looking down, and action!
Hey, guess what? We're going to take that fancy new shuttle and go on a field trip.
Oh, Roger.
We're going to go see him.
No! I can't see him! He can't see me! No, Richard, no! No, there's no way we can go to Planet Doom! No!
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes.
No!
Yes. Well, that'll make that a lot easier.
we go to Richard to talk about his role in this thing.
Gee, for the first year, I didn't really have one. But yeah, I drew the short straw, right? So Jimmy had all the producing experience, and Scott had all the work to do with Toastie and voicing and editing and did we do compositing early on?
We did.
Whatever it is that we did in the first season.
It wasn't very good.
And so I was left to my usual duties of being behind the camera, trying my best to capture it all and play host, which was not natural for me at all. So I had to interview people, so that was bizarre. In season 2, I did largely the same thing. So I did whatever I contributed was usually on the coattails of somebody else's ideas, which was just fine with me.
Season 2 was your idea of trying to create a big story.
Oh, yeah.
You're the one that sparked the idea of actually, let's go on an adventure. Let's get off the station and let's go someplace. So that's where you sparked that, and he was again kind of modest about his role of making Toastie come alive. The truth is, Toastie is brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. When we first started, we didn't think, both Richard and I looked at each other and went,
yeah, this is not gonna be cool.
Yeah, you're like,
a robot.
A robot. That's what he really wanted. We gotta have a robot, and both Richard and I went, robot, no. And then we built him, which was a lot of fun building him, and then he started manipulating him, and all of a sudden it was just gold. Absolute brilliance from the day one. And not just the funniness that came out of this guy's mouth, but how he made Toastie come alive. It's an inanimate object. It's a tripod with a bowling ball on its head.
Yeah, it has 2 planes of articulation. His head can go up and down and sideways. And yeah, you owe me so bad.
Some of my finest lines.
Richard, yes, und jetzt die Rechnung. It's time for the reckoning of doom. You know how much you owe me, Richard? Do you wanna know how much you owe me? Let's have a look. Running that movie cost $250,000, and then there's the gratuity, the dog biscuits, the window tax, the cow ointment. There's my salary plus infinity times squared. You know how much it comes to, Richard? You know how much you owe me? You owe me $4.5 billion. That's right, Richard. $4.5 billion. Imagine the camera equipment I could buy, the raw computing power alone. I'll be able to go to another planet with the movies I'll be able to make. Ah!
You're right.
No.
No, you don't look all right. Would you like to be fixed?
Yes.
It's going to cost you...
How much?
Oh, I don't know, say $5 billion.
I hate you so much.
Some of my finest lines.
Yeah, Toastie just became something else. It was so fun to work with. All the stuff that you don't get to see on television is because of regulations. But wow, Scott is right there, and anybody who's ever worked with somebody, puppeteering, I guess is what you called it, knows that there's someone right there. But whenever I worked with Toastie, Scott disappeared, right? And even knowing his voice wasn't affected yet, I was dealing with Toastie straight up all the time, and so that was always something to look forward to, no matter how much we hated the idea of having to come and do another show. Well, Scott and I are what would you call it? Terminally creative people who have real fits of self-imposed depression about trying to do anything. And then once we start doing it, because Jimmy makes us, then there's like a tidal wave of stuff. And so that's the sort of the wonderful nature of our relationship together as this little 3-person family. And Toastie then is two of us are miserable, and the third one, who's miserable in his own way, has a particular skill in making these two miserable people actually do some cool stuff.
It's finally here. The show that you've been waiting for. The Vancouver Movie Factory, where movie making dreams come true. Check your local listings for airtimes.
This place is huge. I mean, where did this even come from? I mean, what happened to the satellite of Red?
You don't remember the explosion?
There was an explosion?
I'm sure we'll cover that again in this episode.
Was I there?
Yeah, you were there. You're pretty instrumental.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what I did.
Just a bit of advice. Don't press that button, okay?
That button?
Yes, that button.
The one labeled Premiere?
Yes, that button labeled Premiere.
Light it up, baby!
Oh, no, no!
And we should talk a little bit about the production of the show, at least the post-production side, in that we started out with the Satellite of Red. And the reason we call it the Satellite of Red was because being filmmakers ourselves, of course, naturally, we covered the almighty Red and Ari and many other camera types that we'd love to shoot with. So the reason for Red is because if we thought that if we say we shot on Red, meaning Red the space station, we also mean that we shot on Red the camera. So that's where the genesis of that came.
Which we didn't. No.
Which we totally didn't.
We have the budget to actually have a camera.
Well, exactly. And you have to understand, we do all this with our own gear, so this is a zero budget show for the most part. Toastie is the most expensive prop that we've ever had, and he cost, I think, $70.
Was it that much?
Yeah.
I thought it was like $7, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, no, it's the paint that cost, I think, the most.
Exactly, the paint cost the most.
But then, of course, at the end of season 1, we decided to do something fun. We decided to destroy the Satellite of Red because we can. And we did that by pressing the Premiere button, which is a little bit of an in-joke to those who know Adobe Premiere, and that, you can have effects like that in Premiere, not so much in Final Cut.
Taking pictures for nostalgia's sake.
And so, yeah, we destroyed the Satellite of Red, and this fine gentleman built the Satellite of Ari. And so, as much as I do all the 3D backgrounds and composites and a lot of the animations, I'm not really a builder of 3D, I am more of a user. But this guy actually built the Satellite of Ari set and the CGI version of Toastie. So, when he tells about building the Satellite of Ari.
Yeah, well, Toastie blew up Red, and I love Ari cameras. And so, Ari was supposed to be... It was really supposed to be a different design, to be honest. It's like I have no experience or understanding of space stations. My only sort of recollection is the ones that were in Star Trek, I guess, right? And so it was my sort of reference, and it quickly went away from that. And I just started building, and it was really neat how when you get an idea and it just comes out of nowhere, and then there it is.
The best kind.
Yeah.
That's what the whole show
and then there's the whole thing, and they just built that whole title sequence and whatnot, and I sent it off to Scott and said, hey, what do you guys think of the new space station? And they're like, yep,
We'll take it.
I like that one. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then I did Toastie, because I put off doing Toastie for quite a while because my skills in 3D weren't that great, and I was nervous about things like slinky arms and making footballs, soccer balls, things like that. And then we actually had to have a CG Toastie. And another one of those wonderful things about limitations is that it sort of forces your hand sometimes. And I think I made Toastie in like 2 days and sent him off, and I think you guys liked it.
Very much. It was incredible. Yeah. I couldn't actually believe the amount of detail. You got his all of the detail in his every part of him is all there. It's pretty incredible. And I mean, you did a job on shading and texturing the puppet as well. But then I did my version, and I made him look clean and shiny. But you made him look like what he actually is, which looked way better. But at that point, of course, you'd already done the clean version. So I was like, well, we got the expensive CGI looking Toastie. He looked great. And yeah, and even the CGI puppet could articulate his head in the same way that the real one does, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah, thankfully that was the only animation I had to be able to give you.
Yes, actually, we did one animation of Scotty, who's our female version of the Scott clones, and that was a thing. And if you ever look back at that episode and look very carefully, you'll notice there's some rather gratuitous movement of certain body parts. Not intentional, it's just when I hit render and then I noticed it's like, okay, well, I guess we just pleased a bunch of 13-year-olds. So, but yeah, that was something.
You had no time to redo the physics on that one. It was like, oh, well, okay.
And of course, yeah, there was actually, we didn't do it very much, and thank God we didn't, because that would have been hard, but there was in the third or fourth episode of season 1, we had Richard interview himself, which was a bit of a thing. So.
Yes, that was typical of ours thing. I love that we would always come to set, like these days that you're seeing here, and have no idea what we're going to do, more or less. There was the sort of season story arc that we worked on, where there was a lot of work that went into that, but most of the time we really had no idea what we were going to do, and incredibly improvised.
Yep, an entirely improvised thing.
Yeah, whatever tickled you guys' fancy, whatever made you guys laugh, well, that's what we went for, and that's what worked. Of course, a lot of it was way above what we could actually show, and then we would have to bring it down to a certain level that would, yeah, okay, we can actually show that. But that's how it worked. That's what really made it work. But I'd like to know about Scotty's. You know, you got Scotty. Now, where do all these Scots come from? What was the idea of that?
It's finally here. The show that you've been waiting for. The Vancouver B-Movie Factory, where movie-making dreams come true. Check your local listings for airtimes.
It's so much quieter than the old one. What? I said it's so much quieter than the old one. What? What? Oh yeah, it's so much quieter than the old one. What? I said it's. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, the Scott clones. I'm not entirely sure where we got the. We had the idea that there's this janitor on the space station, who at the time was.
Blimey!
Yeah, was a Brummie. My parents are from Birmingham, so I can take the Mickey out of the Brummies. And so we had this idea of this really thick-sounding guy who basically does all the actual work. So Toastie and Richard, as much as they like to talk big, it's actually all delegated to this guy in the orange jumpsuit, who I believe was called Taylor to begin with.
You know, Richard, I thought the other day I was plunging out the toilet. There's a particular hard bit in the U-bend, and it made me think, what is a keyframe?
That made you think, what's a keyframe?
And then the guys in the black jumpsuits are the Scots. So we have the Scots and the Taylors. And the Scots are actually more intelligent. They're the slightly, they're the ones who do all the real work and that. But anyway, so we had that. And yeah, so for season 2, I actually had the jump. Actually, no, it was the end of season 1. I had the black jumpsuit made with the satellite of Ari patch. So this thing right here, I had that embroidered specially, and very proud of that. And we have 3 of them, but you only ever see mine on my thing, and we never see yours.
I'm never on set, so.
And that changed just once for the still shot episode, where we did an episode entirely in 3D. In still shots, where I did the satellite of Ari logo, but yeah, unfortunately, because it costs a lot of money to get these things embroidered, it's there's not going to be a patch of that anytime soon. But yes, so my character, the Scots, the clones, they were fun to do, and we had a lot of fun having those in the background. And yeah, it was an interesting little thing to do.
Why did we do it green screen? Why? What was the idea of that? Well, it's because it looks better than what we actually had.
Have you seen what we have to shoot with?
we had a clubhouse, but it really isn't that.
It's not that impressive.
Yeah, it's not. So we had a green screen, and we said, we're
going to use it, damn it.
Yeah, let's use the green screen and put ourselves on a space station and actually look a little bit more impressive than what we are.
Yeah. Because there's not many shows that are set in outer space, at least for the kind of programming we're doing. So it was a chance for us to have a bit of fun. And we're all fans of Doctor Who and Red Dwarf and things like that. So obviously you may have noticed a little bit, with our title designs and things. And just having a chance to do something really oddball and unusual. And it kind of looked nice. And my 3D work, if you look at the very beginning episode, it's terrible. And then when you look at the later ones, it got a lot better. So.
One of my favorite episodes, and all I have to do is this. It's so much quieter than the old one.
Yes.
That was I loved what we did on that one. We worked our asses off with different camera angles and different places, and just making ourselves look huge with the using the green screen to its fullest potential. We had multiple Scots. We had angles that were looking up at Richard and Toastie, looking down on the three Scots.
Full body shots. Yeah.
Full body shots, walking around. That was a really
harder to do than you might think in a space as small as this.
And it really came out looking quite. And we had our first animation was on that episode too.
It wasn't really our first, but it was. Technically, it was our third or fourth, but
really,
because our first piece of animation was done actually in episode 7 or 8, where I did a rather ambitious shot of panning from outside of the satellite of red through the window, across a table and down a hall, and then turning to the left, and then we have the title credits. So that was my first real animated shot. The second real piece of animation was done by Richard at the beginning of season 2, which was showing the satellite of RA, and of course having our space shuttle fly around actual Vancouver.
That was a great opener.
That was a good opener. And then so the piece you're talking about, is largely our third piece, and it was it was rather a nice shot of the launch bay, and that took a bit of planning, but and for a guy who's an amateur at this, I was quite proud of that.
What about your favorite episode?
My favorite episode probably was, I think, episode 11 of season 1, where Toastie is talking about how poor he is. I like that one. You have to understand, I'm largely terrified of doing Toastie. Whenever I come here, it's kind of common knowledge that I will have a panic attack, get very depressed, and then that's the moment that they'll then yell action. And somehow then the comedy comes. But before that, I'm a nervous wreck, and I'm irritable and no idea what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So when I'm with the puppet and I start, because this is all improvised, it's just whatever's on the top of my head. So when I look back at that and I see Toastie just in a complete rant, but it's quite funny to listen to, that's one of my favorite ones, and particularly at the end where he's just talking about that he can go to space with the money that he's going to get from you, and then breaks himself, and then you charge him $4 million or whatever. That's one of my favorite ones. So let's see, what's your favorite episode?
I don't know that I have a single favorite episode. I have moments in like so many of them. All of season 2 and the last few episodes of season 1, there are gems scattered throughout. There, like you said, that whole thing. Going to and it's never anything that I've said. It's always your response to something, like going to Crazy Mates. You try and keep a straight face on that one. It was just fantastic. Or the episode where we were on the planet being shot at by all those mechs and all those Scots getting destroyed. And there's that tilt-up pan shot of the super secret entrance. That made me laugh because it's so straight out of our canon of comedy, right?
Yeah.
It's endless, really. There is so many. I'm looking forward to the highlight reel of things. I don't have a favorite, though. I don't have a particular favorite. If I had to pick one, maybe season 2, episode 1 is one of my favorites, just in the whole, because it was such a departure from season 1. This really said, okay, we're going to do this differently. And it looked like it, and that was very ambitious of us. And then probably, the Stormtrooper episode or whatever whatever that one is, with the so much quieter than the old one. What? There's a lot of great banter in it, and is that the one where Toastie we're in the shuttle and he's having he's being very having a strop? He's
He's having the panic attack, and then later on he's depressed.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. No, the improvised nature of the show was largely a huge pain in the ass, but also, moments of brilliance from each of us. So quite proud of that. So there you go.
Awkward pause.
So that's wrap-up time.
Is there anything else we can really talk about here?
I just have a feeling that there's credits running over us right now.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, producer?
No?
Well, we'd like to thank you all for watching our show for the last 2 years. If you didn't watch the show, then, well, I guess you didn't really miss anything. And if you did, well, you can catch us on YouTube. And if you dare to bother sending us a message at any point, we'd like to hear from you. And if you don't, well...
Bye!
You just put spit all over the mic. Why do I have to do this?
Because we have no budget and we're proud.